And a good day to you, Explore Nation. John Lynskey, your ambassador for alumni affairs, here with season 6, episode 10. Yes, double digits of Looking Back with Lynskey, proudly sponsored by Albert Bartholomew and his family. And our guest today is synonymous with the pig roast. Without this guy, there is no pig roast. What Eisenhower was to D-Day, what von Braun was to Apollo 11, Avian Guerra is to the Columbus Pig Roast. A proud member of the class of 2004. Times were different back then, which we'll talk about. It is my pleasure to introduce my good friend and partner in crime, Avian Guerra. Thanks, brother, for being here.
Thank you for having me, my man.
Hey, you're a busy man, and we appreciate you taking the time to be here. As I said, you say pig roast, everybody says Avian, and how you became the point man and the ultimate herder of cats. We will get into that, but before we do, let's go back and talk about how did you end up at Columbus? Where'd you go to elementary school, and what led you to Columbus, my friend?
So I started. My days started at St. Kevin. I started at St. Kevin Elementary. I only worked my way there to about fifth grade. They had asked me to leave. So bounced over to good old Joe Hall, and from there Paul Bell Middle School. With funny enough, is my principal there was Mrs. Marinelli, Michael
Nice,
mother.
nice.
Uh, so just a small world, and then ended up at Christopher Columbus. Followed the footsteps of my two older brothers, Alain and Ariel. My brother's class of '96, and then my brother's class of '03. So that's basically my history before getting to Columbus.
So you knew you were going to Columbus, and based on your brother's experience, you kind of knew what you were getting into. How long did it take you to get comfortable to the explorer way of doing things?
uh, pretty. It was pretty quick, pretty
Yeah,
quick. I don't think there was. I have a pretty good memory. I don't think I ever had that moment of a switch of like, okay, now this is. I think from day one, it just had the sense of this is where I belong. I could. The easy thing was I'm the youngest of four, so I would talk to anyone and everyone. So I would just. To me, I fit right in with the brotherhood since day one. So it was always it was very easy and an easy welcoming.
and Columbus is the perfect place for a young man who may have been asked to leave a previous institution. Columbus is a home for characters, and I will tell you, and we have discussed this many times. You were one of those memorable characters. '04 had some great guys. Obviously, our vice president of development, Mr. Nick Ramos, who we both work with so closely, was an
Mhm.
'04 guy. But I distinctly remember you in class because you always have, like you have right now, that gleam in your eye that something could happen at any given moment, and you were always looking for an opportunity, to add a little flavor or color to class, if you will.
Opportunistic.
Yes, yes. Some people might compare you to a jackal waiting to pounce, but no, it was never malicious. But we had fun, and of course, so many guys had nicknames.
Hmm.
You ended up with the nickname the French Kid.
The
Would,
French.
would, would you care to share how that all came about?
Um, so, my memory gets a little foggy from here, but I obviously had the honor of having you as my teacher senior year, and one day we're just walking, and OB was headed towards his class, and I kind of came in between the two of you. This was probably like week two, and I went to make a comment towards O'Brien because I didn't have the honor of having him as a teacher. And when he turned around and you're like, he looked around and he was like, "Who is this guy?" And you're like, "Oh, don't worry, he's a French kid."
I think it had something to do with we were covering the French in Vietnam, and it all made sense. And it stuck, and you
Name it.
know, we had some fun, but as we always say, we had fun, but we learned things too, and that's what Columbus is all about.
It is.
And so after your tremendous experience at Columbus, you went on to FIU, but it seems to me you were predisposed to what you were going to do with the rest of your life. And you know, you are the third generation to work for your family business, La Caja China. I hope I got that
You
close
did.
enough
You did.
for an Anglo. Yeah,
You got it close.
we'll take it. Talk about talk about how that all evolved and what it's like to work in a family business. And when it's third generation, there's a lot of history on your shoulders to not screw it up. Let's be honest. So go ahead and just tell us about that whole thing.
So very fortunate and blessed to be third generation, and grateful, I guess, would be another great word. You know, I wear the brand, you know, to with a, you know, I represent it with a lot of pride and joy, just because you know what my family has built the company to what it is. My grandfather, back in the, you know, in the 40s, when you had the Chinese immigrants build, they had a Chinatown. They were building out the railroad tracks in Havana.
Yeah.
uh,
Okay. Yeah.
Within that Chinatown, it was where my grandfather got that concept and the idea of cooking, roasting, you know, pork or any meat inside a box, a wooden box lined with aluminum with the heat on top. So that's where my grandfather got that concept, and that's how the name came about. So fast forward, comes to the states. They start their venture in Connecticut, worked, and also New Jersey, bounce around. They couldn't take the cold anymore, so they headed down south. You know, working here for many years. And, you know, fast forward to 1987, my grandfather goes to my dad, "Hey, you know, have this idea, come out with this box." You know, it's a concept I've always had in my mind. I see everybody here digging holes in the ground or building cinder blocks to roast a whole hog. And, you know, we could just do a wooden box lined with aluminum. Uh, Pitched it to my dad. My dad, at that time, you know, 1987, my grandfather was born in 1926.
Okay.
So my grandfather is 60 years old, you know. So, you know, my dad at that time is 30 years old. And my dad's just, you know, like, just looking at him like, you know, I guess let me find get this old man some entertainment, you know. So my dad just goes into the helps him out financially. You know, they give him a space back in the warehouse where he is at the time, you know, just to entertain the old man, I guess, for better or for worse. And that was back in 1987 is when the business got established. And it wasn't until about 2004, coincidentally my senior year, that I had a chef. We had a chef, Douglas Rodriguez, a James Beard winning chef. He had a restaurant in the Bentley Hotel out in the beach,
Yeah.
and he actually came to my dad because Chef Adam Perry Lang wanted 6 or 7 boxes for the South Beach Food and Wine Festival for the
Okay.
bubble tent. And he wanted to roast some lamb legs. So he came to Douglas Rodriguez, and Douglas Rodriguez then was like, "Hey, look, I have a perfect product," because they're like, "Man, I want to cook these things out in the beach, but, you know, we don't have no ovens, no electricity." So Chef Douglas Rodriguez was told at Chef Adam Perry Lang, like, "Hey, look, there's this product, a box of Caja China. That would be a perfect thing, and it's gonna cook it better than any oven." So he comes knocking on La Caja China door where my dad, and then that's when my dad had started taking over, like, to help my grandfather because he was getting too old. And that's when it, like, dawned on my dad that, you know, there's something here, right? So we take the boxes out to the beach. You know, you get all that, you know, you just start getting all that exposure, all the chattering about the box. And then fast forward, next thing you know, Bobby Flay's calling us to do the an episode in the backyard. Roker's calling us that he wants to do an episode in the backyard. Fast forward another 3 years, my dad's doing a throwdown with Bobby Flay out in the beach. So, it's just like once everyone picked up on the product itself and the beauty of it, it was like it was a light switch. And so my dad took over about there 2003, 2004, and took it to the next level. And the exposure has just been nonstop. And then now fast forward now to 2025, and here I am. So yeah, there is a lot of weight on the shoulders because it is a family business. I have my two cousins work here, my brother works here. My family's invested obviously into the business as well. So there is a lot of pressure to keep it up and going, but just obviously just to build it out and just to keep on growing it.
It's amazing how those little twists of fate,
Hmm.
this leads to something else. And it's a fascinating cultural thing. And you touched on something. People forget, everybody knows, or most people know, that the Chinese built the railroads in this country,
Hmm.
but they were also deeply involved in Cuba. So that all ties together.
Hmm.
And it is such a cultural thing for the Cuban population, for the Cuban people. And I was never really exposed to that. My first exposure, I think I told you this story. I'm over at the Pita's house, Steven's parents,
Hmm.
Delilah and George, and Foyo's there, you know, and that's a bad combination. It really is. And so they bring this box out, and I'm looking at this thing going, okay, what's going to happen? Long story short, too much alcohol, not enough safety. Like, safety was third, and the bottom line is Foyo almost burned down the Pita's fence. But what a day. And I'm like, okay, there's something to this. And so it's fascinating to watch. And this is going to segue into what we just experienced a week ago, the ninth annual Columbus Pig Roast. And like all things at Columbus, most great things at Columbus, it kind of started off as a happy accident, really nobody having any idea what they're doing. And all of a sudden, it's the biggest event in Dade County within a decade. So if you would, because you are now the point man for this whole thing, take us back. And I remember the first one, man, it was a little picnic in the backyard and no one knew anything. So take us through the evolution of pig roast and your involvement in Avian, not just with pig roast for Columbus. You do it all around for different schools around Dade County,
Hmm.
but you also are very, very involved with other activities at Columbus that take up a great amount of time.
Hmm.
And so talk about the evolution, and then why do you dedicate so much time? Because it's not, herding drunken cats is not easy.
It's not.
So
It's
go
not.
ahead, bro.
So, well, before I jump into that, I just have one question. Aside from the fence almost burning, how did the pig come out?
Oh, it was amazing. I had never really. I'm more, American barbecue.
There
This
you go.
was completely different. And and I think Foyo tried to put the flames out with vodka, which that
Not
didn't
a,
help the situation.
not a
But
good combo.
no, 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 literally throwing gasoline on fire. But it was quite something, and that's when I realized, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I get it.
That,
And so I've come to appreciate it. So take us back to the very
so
beginning, my friend.
we start. It was So I'm part of the Columbus, the Alumni Association.
Yeah,
And, I got invited to be on by good old Ralph Roca, a good mentor of mine.
good
Back in
man.
about 9, 10 years now. It was right in the beginning when I had joined that I actually had Pete Marty and another teacher, I forget the name. They sat in one of our meetings to propose this pig roast. But what they wanted to do was a correlation to pig roast, but also to do like a family picnic. To, if I'm not mistaken, you could correct me if I'm wrong, it was to celebrate, I think, the 200 year of the Marist.
That's correct. Yeah.
Mistaken. So it was one of those. It was basically just a celebration, and then might as well in the Columbus fashion. Hey, let's celebrate something, but let's add something to it. Debauchery, pig rolls. Everyone bring your coolers, a good time. Why not? So second they pitch it to us, we all looked at each other and consensus. Everybody was like, "Yeah, let's go, let's roll with it." So what started with something very small obviously turned into what we just experienced last weekend, which was about north of 5,500 attendees just walking around Columbus Field. Right? You say that number, you would think like, where did you fit all these people? And if you were at the event, you didn't even feel it, right? You felt the masses of people there, but there was so much space. Everyone was just enjoying themselves. Such a good time. I did not get one complaint after, and that's very rare with
Yeah.
500 people, and you have yet to hear a complaint. It's something very rare in this world that we live in, especially in this world that we live in today. But so to backtrack with 9 years ago, yeah, just started very small. I would say about our first year we had north of 20 teams, and that was pulling teeth. Like we've got it up to 22, and it stayed at that number for the first four, like I would say 4 to 5 years. And I think our fifth year, Ralph Roker actually like kind of did a side wager with well, I forgot who the staff member was like, we're gonna get more than 50. You'll see. And sure enough, we did. And I think it was that 5 or 6 year mark where it was just like it took that next step. And then, once we moved it to the field last year, right? Because we used to have it back there in between the football field and the baseball field, that parking area. For those that aren't familiar with it, if I had to throw a square footage amount in that space, I would probably say about 3,000 square feet altogether, the bend and everything. We were condensing thousands of people into that area.
Yeah,
so
it was crazy.
I told Nick, I go, look, I know our football field's the holy grail, but I think we got to move this, and protect it as best as possible. So we took that leap of faith last year and we did it. And it's just, it's just this event has just turned into, to me, not being unbiased, being Mr. Caja China, to probably the best event the school hosts. All in, right, between the event itself, everyone that it brings in from 1-year-olds up to 70-year-olds or 80-year-olds. So just a family event, good times, alumni's coming in, and just the volume. You're bringing in 5,500 people to our beautiful campus. So now you're getting the exposure. So it's a home run across the board. And it's awesome. It's Columbus is a second school that started the pig roast. We had St. Timothy started it back in 2008, were the first one to start this. And they just did it as a men's club getting together. But it's funny what it's transcended to, right? So now, fast forward, 2017 is when Columbus had its their first annual, which was the second school to do so. And now you have about 21 schools that have pig roasts within their communities. And all of them always say the same thing, that it's the best event that their school does.
And imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and Columbus is known for doing something, then other people mimic it, and that's great. But nobody does it like we do, because we don't do anything small, obviously. So, why did you decide to take on all this responsibility? And it is a serious responsibility, and people only see the end result, and that's fine. That's what they're there for. They're there for the food and the drinks and the music and everything else, and the fellowship and all that. Tell people when you actually start planning for the pig roast.
We're already planning for next year.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I have a meeting next Thursday with the committee there at school, with Marissa, Nick, and Ethan. And I want to take a moment for those three names that I just
Please
said.
do. Yeah.
Marissa, Isa, Vivian, and Nick of this, without them, there is no pig roast.
Correct.
You know, they put a lot of effort into it. And Marissa and Isa do a great job with it. And from the next day, Marissa and I were there at 8 o'clock in the morning, making sure everyone is picking up their stuff and cleaning that up to get it ready for school. So the event finishes. The next day we're ready back on cleanup mode, and then the next day we're ready talking about what we could do to better the for the next year. So it's basically a 365-day planning for this event.
It's like the Super Bowl. They're
Yep.
already planning for next year's Super Bowl. I
Hmm.
mean, it's a very analogous situation. And fortunately, you also the great team at Columbus, obviously, but our fellow brothers, our alumni that you count on, uh, because you can't drop the ball on this. You need people you can count on. So talk about some of our guys involved as well.
So a big shout out to our guys as well. So with most of them on the Alumni Association, which is a great committee, a great brotherhood. I call it the 1% of those that bleed the school colors. The other Avians of the world, and within that group, I mean, obviously, I wouldn't can't get most of this done without Danny Alonso Cheeky. He's my co-chair for events.
Yes.
He gets half of them, I get the other half. And so he's a huge help with this. Ralph Roca and Ralphie Jr. has stepped up to the plate these last 2 years.
He
Uh,
has.
Rudy Puig obviously can't do anything without him. With his help, his security, his just how he just operates in general. Dan Travieso, Jose Hernandez Salum, Frigo, all of them just play a valuable role. Rene Guerra, they all help me with this, whether it's going out to find sponsorships for this, to go get the merchandise. Our goodie bag this year, everyone was ranting and raving about it. Just all the gear that you're getting, cutting boards, tumblers, koozies, hats, aprons, shirts, and all that was just the team. Renee and Danny just dedicated their time to just go out and find sponsorships for those items. The day of operation, Rudy got there before I did. And just already had his whole staff in play. So it takes a village. Obviously, I'm there, as a chair, but without all without all the, I guess, the legs, that chair can't stand upright. So I got to give credit where credit is due with the whole staff and all the whole committee.
No, you're absolutely right. Eisenhower had Bradley and Montgomery for D-Day, and you've got those guys and
Hmm.
our staff. But I mean, it's a multifaceted operation because the vendor market now has taken off to a whole new level.
Hmm.
So you've got the vendors in the gym, you've got the stuff on the field, uh, and you mentioned a very good point. That field is the holy grail.
Hmm.
And nobody wants an angry Dave Dunn ranting and raving about what happened to the field. You talk about a leap of faith and the logistics involved in figuring out with 65 teams, there's only so much space.
Hmm.
But it was so perfectly designed this year, ringing the sidelines, middle of the field's open except for the soundboard. I mean, the flow this year was incredible.
It was, it was, and it's funny. It was something that just happened. I guess you could say by accident or by force. Because we're trying to save the length of the field, the longevity of it. So when we brought in the turf guy, he had said first thing is just alleviate weight from the field, and
Yeah.
those tents require a lot of weight with the cinder blocks that hold them down.
Yeah.
They forced them off the field, and my first thought was like, man, you're breaking up a party. You had the center tent keeps everyone here in the middle, the VIP tent's right there. Now we're just making this into a lot of separate sections. And until something doesn't happen, you don't know. And sure enough, here it came. And right after the event ended, I was like, wow, a better layout, because it kind of the VIP tent where it was, it's kind of isolated. You had to go to it to want to be in it.
Yes.
And when you would go in, I don't know if you ever peeked your head in there, but it
Yeah.
was good time in there. It was
Oh
good.
yeah. It was good times, and it was in a perfect location back where, ironically, originally the first pig roast was, back in the curve of the old track back in there, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah,
Um, and we had music this year. I mean, not just music, killer music.
we had awesome live performance and
Yeah.
everything. It was
Yeah.
awesome. It was awesome. The stadium lights were on, it was laser beams, a fog machine. It was epic. It was epic. Next
That's
year,
the right word for it too.
10 years, we got to figure out how to top this one.
Well, and that's the thing. As soon as something's over, people are like, okay, what's next? How are you going to top this? So, a question, it's a bit early. What do you see that, and this is, always the post-mortem, what can we do better? What do you think we can do better?
Oof, oof. If I have a few things there, which I won't want to share, but
Okay. Okay.
we have a few things there cooking. But if we share them, we kind of just let them come to see it for themselves. But
The point is, it's already under consideration.
it is, and like how we said, it's 365 days that we work, that we prepare for it, and we're ready. We're already talking about it.
And it's time, talent, or treasure. You give all three.
Mhm.
And you have also sort of segued into Brewfest, which I kind of see as the little brother of Pig
Mhm.
Roast, a little engine that could. Again, we've had three now. The first one was just a few guys hanging around drinking beer, and now, since
Little
it's
corner.
become, yeah, exactly. Um, Now it's become, the Fred Foyo Brewfest, which is perfect, of course.
Of course.
Um, what have you applied from Pig Roast to Brewfest, and where do you see? I think there's great potential in Brewfest. Where do you see Brewfest going?
So, it could very easily get to it. It is you said it perfectly. It's the little brother to the pig roast. And for those that went this year is a kind of a great example as to where it can go, or actually where it already is, right? So if you want to compare apples to apples, this is the third year. That if you went to the Brewfest this year and you went to our third annual pig roast, there's no comparison. No comparison, right? So what the pig roast what the Brewfest has already done in just 3 years, it's outstanding. This year, Mother Nature was not kind from
No,
from
no.
just not kind to the point that the day before, I'm on a call with Marissa and Nick, kind of seeing like, hey, and Nick is like, the show must go on, and I was like, all right, that's the show must go on. The show must go on, and the show went on, and let me tell you, nobody was let down and nobody was disappointed. Everybody had ponchos on or umbrellas. All the vendors came out and no complaints. The hats off to whoever did that field many years ago, because the drainage is awesome. It was just on and off rain, and you had kids just running around, shirtless, slip and sliding.
Oh, they
Um,
had a blast.
I think they had the funnest time out of any Columbus event just because of the rain. The
Well,
parents,
we danced in the rain instead of complaining about it,
100.
and uh, hats off to Stephen Pita and his crew that
Yep.
have really taken Brewfest on as their own.
Correct. Well,
And we
I
had,
put him as, so I Steven, that's like what the pig roast is to me, that we put Steven out for the Brewfest. We gave that baby to him. We offered it to him. He took it with a smile on his face, and he did a superb job. That poor guy, you did not want to talk to him the night before or the morning of. But let me,
no,
once it ended, I told you, brother, just trust the system and trust everyone around you. And I think next year he'll trust us.
Yeah, I agree. And it was great to see severely overweight men wearing lederhosen. There's nothing better than that. And the class competition, because we're competitive in everything. The guys that want to win that, and never mind how badly guys want to win pig roast. Some guys are there, to enjoy and the brotherhood and everything, but a lot of people are in it to win it, no question.
No questions asked.
So how describe the pressure of judging 65 teams? Hey, you guys got to eat a lot of pork, and you can't have too much to drink because you got to keep your head clear. And watching the judging competition is quite something.
It is. It is. It's I think it's Tom Cruisek's favorite part of the event. He just gets in awe every time we do the judging, and he walks in there. He says it's like a symphony. I normally get a panel of anywhere between 14 to like about 18, which is hats off to them. It's not easy to take time out of your day, and we get a lot of chefs that go out there, local celebrity chefs that take time out of the day. But yeah, it's a lot of meat. This year we had 65 teams, 62 got pigs, 55 turned in, so 7 of them. Yeah, we'll find out what happened to them. And so 55 pigs is a lot of pigs to taste.
Yeah.
We develop a pretty good system that we split up into groups, and each group gets about 10 to 12, and then within that group they advance 2 to 3 from each, and then we have a round 2, and then we have a round 3. I try to protect the bellies of those that are there, because it just becomes impossible to taste
Of course.
pigs in one setting. So I've come down to a system. I help out in 10 other pig roast competitions, and I run the judge paneling for all of them. So I've come down to I've nailed it on the best judging. And every time I introduce the system to any other school, they're like, "Oh my God, what have we been doing all this time?" But it's the judging part is very complex, but it's a good time. Good, it's a great time. Good thing there's no audio in there. You could hear.
No audio, no children. Absolutely. Have you ever had any serious complaints that the Russian judge, was being unfavorable or anything like that? Because guys want to win, man. That's what impresses me.
Yeah,
they want to win.
Every year we get some. I want to see a score sheet.
Well, Columbus guys are Columbus guys. They don't do anything easy. And, it was great. Again, the music aspect, Orlando Mendez, both at Brewfest, where no one got electrocuted, which is amazing because water and electricity don't play well together. And then he absolutely killed it at Pig Roast.
Yeah, he did. He crushed it. We were fortunate to have him there a second time because he did the Brewfest as well, and he rocked it. Now with Under the Lights, it was awesome.
What is it might be hard to answer. There could be more than one. What's your favorite part of the day during Pig Roast?
Oof. You know what? Never got asked that question. What's my favorite part of the day? I'm a fan of mayhem. I think I told you. So I like chaos. Fortunately, in my world, there's a lot of controlled chaos. I know you and I passed each other at one point in the event in the beginning when it was mayhem.
Yeah.
And we said those exact words to each other. You're like, this is wild. And I go, well, it's chaos, but it's controlled chaos.
Controlled chaos, yes. Because we were both putting out multiple fires at that moment.
Multiple fires. So I think that's, call me crazy, but I think I like that part. I like I like those moments that are not on the that they're not scripted, and those points that it's like you got to make a decision on the spot. To those are the ones that I'm typical Columbus guy. I like I like the crazy times, but
Bro,
that's the fun part. Just everybody.
so you were saying, Avian, that you just strive in the chaos.
Yeah,
You live for it.
I live in that moment. I just love putting out fires in these events, running around. And it's what I live for in those events. And just I like catering to people, and just seeing everybody enjoying themselves and having a good time on behalf of Christopher Columbus. That's what just makes me have a good time. So,
Yeah.
that's what those are that's what I live for in those events.
Columbus guys know how to improvise, adapt, adjust, and overcome. And there's no question, you
Yeah.
know. But I'll tell you, what's a great moment is when the sun starts setting and that gorgeous Westchester sunset appears out west, and the breeze picks up, and you shift into the final phase. And I think that's when people, some a little bit more lubricated than others, really come together and feel the camaraderie. That's my favorite time, is watching that sun go down and realizing, man, we made another one.
Yep, that's a good one. So this was the first year that we extended the time.
Yes, which I thought
Um,
was a great call.
yeah, it was phenomenal. It wasn't too hot. You just got a good amount of heat just the first 2 hours maybe, but just the weather just got awesome. And then once that moment with the sun setting, and then once the night came in, it was a beautiful night, and it was a great call of extending it.
You know, so the problem with an event like that is the morning after, the night before. What do you feel like when you get up the next morning and realize, oh, I got to go back there? How tough is that, bro?
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. This year I left there at about 2 in the morning, and I found my way back there at about 7:38 in the morning. So it was just like I hope I didn't not coming back into a dumpster fire. Um, and then but it's a tough week. But fortunately, I don't know how, but these boys they leave it good enough, you know.
Good enough. Yes. We'll go with that. Not necessarily good, but good enough,
Yeah.
And we had no shrapnel this year,
No. No.
which is, it's shrapnel is a bad thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No explosions this year, but we're good. We're good.
Now,
We got over that hump.
so as you know, we are a Marist school, and we're very proud of our traditions and our values.
Mhm.
So I like to close each episode by asking you, Avian, what does being Marist mean to you?
Oh man, it's funny, right? So being Marist, you tend to lose that a little bit as you leave. You forget, and we're fortunate to bring in Gabe, which leads our religious activities. And to me, being Marist, what he has shown to me and explained to me, and what I've seen after 20 years, well, actually 24, if you date it back to freshman years, just like the brotherhood and being there for one another, is basically what stands out the most to me, and it's the one thing that I basically just carry forward with me.
And that's perfect, because it doesn't matter how old you are,
Hmm.
and that's the great part of it. Everybody reverts back to when they were 17 or 18, and it's the same buffoonery and everything else. But at the same time, as you said, we've got guys in their 70s and we got guys in their 20s, and we're all explorers. And
Hmm.
nobody does it better than we do. And nobody does a pig roast like you. And everybody who was there deeply appreciates your effort, although they have no comprehension of how hard you work and what a great team you have put together. So on behalf of everyone, my brother, just let me say thank you, and can't wait to see what year number 10 is going to be like.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a fun one. Now, we actually, the Archdiocese, I'm helping the Archdiocese do their first annual one that all the schools compete against each other now on March 22nd. It's called Lechon en el Malecón, and it's there at La Ermitas. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that 10-year one is going to be quite epic.
As long as you don't give away any of our secrets to the Archdiocese, we'll be fine.
We'll be fine.
You can teach them everything they know, but not everything you know, and we'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it
there. Avian Guerra, thank you so much for joining us, my brother. You know how to throw a party, bro. No doubt about it.
I try. At least I learned something in Columbus.
Yes. Yes, indeed. All right, Explorer Nation. Hope you've enjoyed this one. As always, buenos tiempos and adelante. Thank you, Avian.
Goodbye.